So, moving on to more of the breastfeeding, sort of postnatal questions that we've got. Why do my breast nipples hurt whilst breastfeeding?
Oh, where do I start with that one?
It's like clamping on your nipple.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Like really hard.
I know. Well, the most common reason is, as you just stated, is that you have a baby sucking on your nipple maybe 10 or 12 times a day to begin with.
Yeah.
So it would be very common for you to have a degree of nipple discomfort. And we call that just plain old simple nipple stretch.
Yeah.
Because your nipple's, being stretched backwards into baby's mouth.
Yeah.
Now that should be the extent of the pain though. So it's a bit...
But it was a surprise to me because I did a very well-known charities course,
right.
And one of the sessions was on breastfeeding, and the lady said to us, if breastfeeding hurts, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
And so I was breastfeeding, I was going, well, she's getting milk, I don't understand, but this is intensely painful. No one had warned me, and I was actually worried that her first words were going to be expletives, because every time she latched on, I was like, ah, and I would swear because it was so painful, and I wasn't expecting it at all.
No, that can be a bit of a shock.
And it does, obviously it eases, and then it's wonderful, and it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I was like dreading, and Ava was a hungry baby. Like she's like me, and she likes snacking.
Yeah.
And it was sort of every 15 minutes sometimes. I was like, no, please don't be hungry again.
Yeah.
It's too painful.
Of course, yeah.
But then it gets a lot better.
Well, that's exactly it, how you've described it. And that's as it should
It was
be.
a few weeks.
It is a few
days,
weeks.
it was
No,
weeks.
well, you see, initially, you have
I'm
that.
hoping for the second baby it's going to be easier.
It might be. Well, it'll be easier because you know what to expect.
Yes.
So forewarned
the pain
is
will be
forearmed.
easier.
Yes. Well, yes.
Or less would be great.
Well, you'll be more confident to know what's normal, what's acceptable.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think that if you have broken skin or cracked nipples, then
I didn't get any of that. I didn't have a thrush, but it was still
well, that's right.
very
It is
painful.
painful because you have
very
this something
sensitive skin.
clamping on your very sensitive area.
Yeah.
And I think the golden rule is that if you are feeling discomfort, you should only feel an element of discomfort maybe for the first 30 seconds to a minute of the feed.
Yeah.
Thereafter, it's usually not uncomfortable until you go to, you unlatch them from the nipple. And then, as you say, if they want feeding again 50 minutes later, the nipples are still feeling a little bit on the raw side from the previous feed.
Yes.
But
But it's completely normal.
It
I think
is
that's really
normal.
important to be aware that it's
yes.
it is painful. It will be painful.
It is.
That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean the baby's doing anything wrong. It's just our
plain.
nipples are very sensitive, have very sensitive skin, and they are being squeezed and
That's
pulled
right.
and
Exactly.
in ways that they're not used to.
I mean, if you notice that the nipple is, becoming misshapen, or you see little areas that are breaking down, it's really important that when you're in hospital, you ask the midwife to check your latch.
Yeah.
If there's a lactation consultant around, even better.
Yeah.
Usually you're doing it correctly, but you just might need a little bit of fine-tuning. And away you'll go, and that's great. I mean, the other reasons why you would get sore nipples are, yes, if you get cracked nipples and infection gets in there, that's excruciatingly painful, but easily treated.
Yeah.
So you would need an antibiotic probably, one that's compatible with breastfeeding.
I was going to say, because some you can't take when you're breastfeeding, right? Because then it goes to the baby.
Yes, that's right. But I mean, there are a host of ones that are compatible.
Yeah.
And, if you need them, you need them. And if it means you continue to breastfeed, then you should have them. And your nipples will usually heal up beautifully, no problem. Thrush on the nipple can be painful, again, easily treated.
And then doesn't it pass from the... luckily, I never got it, but friends of mine did. And it seemed to go from the mum to the baby, from the baby back to the mum, from the mum.
So it is important. It's a fungal infection which spreads very easily. Yeah. And again, it's very common. It's not usually something that you've done wrong. But having said that, be very vigilant with your hand washing, especially after, trips to the bathroom, etc.
Right.
Because we do, women all carry a bit of thrush down there at times.
Is that right?
Well, they do, yes.
I didn't realise that. That's just all the time, is it?
a little bit, not enough to be harmful most
Yeah.
of the time, or treatable. But I mean, I think the point is, at any given time, if you're not aware you've got it,
Yeah.
then just be vigilant, as you should be with young babies. So yes, that's important. Rarer reasons why your nipples might be sore, you know, if you've got a skin problem, dermatitis or eczema, but again, that can be treated. Breast pain, you know, can be caused by engorgement, lumps, mastitis, and again, all things that are really very treatable, not reasons to give up breastfeeding, but definitely a reason to seek help. So anything that you feel is not right, and mums are usually right. They know their own body. Yes, follow your instincts. They know that you know your own body.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so how can I avoid nipple pain when breastfeeding?
Well, back to this, you know, good latch is the...
And the cream.
Cream, yes, or rubbing a bit of breast milk around the nipple area after a feed, because it's got wonderful healing properties in it.
Yeah.
But, you know, good latch is everything, so make sure you've cracked that. Just get it checked.
And positions as well. I always found, like, in certain positions... Actually, I had one really painful nipple and one that wasn't quite so painful. So I never wanted to breastfeed on my left, but obviously you have to, because...
Yes, to even it out.
Yeah, you have to even it out. But if I held her in a certain way on this breast, it seemed to be less painful. I
Yes,
don't know why.
that's very typical. You know, no two breast nipples are the same, and often babies will favour one side over another. But I think, as you indicated then, in the early weeks of feeding, it's very important to change positions, so you know you have different pressure exerted on the nipple, and also make sure you're in a position where you can visualise baby sucking. So perhaps lying down on your side is not one to implement early on until you're comfortable, because it's very hard to see your latch.
Yeah, I was always terrified of that as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
No, that's right.
It seemed
Later on,
a bit unnatural.
Yes, well, later on when you're confident and baby's confident, you know, that's fine. But, you know, initially, the conventional hold or the rugby hold.
And you can get pillows.
Yes.
You can't. I remember buying this pillow from Amazon that I'd strap around myself, and it helped because it sort of kept her still, and that seemed to help my nipple not hurt so much.
Right, yes.
Because she was just in one position rather than sort of wobbling around. So there are lots of little things that you can do, but at the end of the day, it gets easier the more you do it.
It does,
it does.
It does, yes, exactly.
Okay. What can I do if my baby isn't gaining enough weight? Now that's terrifying. You're really scared as a mum, aren't you, as a parent, if your baby isn't gaining enough weight. What can you actually do about it, if anything?
Well, if you really feel your baby's not gaining weight, please do seek help. Don't keep it to yourself, because there could be several reasons. It could be baby's not having enough to eat, or you know, it could be that baby's not well. And it's very, very important to find out which of those reasons, you know, we need to look at. If baby's not having enough to eat, it's generally with breastfed babies, so there may be an issue with milk production. Usually stimulation, you know, creates more milk. But you need somebody to advise you and help you with that, especially if you don't want to implement formula. Because if baby's, you know, lost more than 10% of its birth weight, the rule is generally here that something needs to be done. And often it'll be topping up with formula. So keeping up a good milk supply is very important. If you're one of these people that likes to see how much baby's having, you can start pumping if you want to, but it's not really the answer. Baby just needs more calories, and you need somebody to help you create a plan in order for that to happen. So as well as maybe a lactation consultant helping you, they should liaise with a paediatrician, and hopefully if they feel it's necessary, they will refer you to somebody who can assess your baby. Make sure that they're well. That's really key to eliminate any other possible underlying causes for baby not thriving. It's not common that babies fail to thrive, but it does happen.
Yeah, of course.
And it can be rectified. And
Yeah.
if your baby needs formula to rectify it, so be it.
Absolutely. The most important thing
Things
is
that
that the baby's
is-
getting calories and getting
Exactly.
nutrition, however that may be.
That's right, exactly. You know, they need enough nutrition for brain development.
Yeah.
That's so important. So don't keep it to yourself. Tell somebody.
So I think a lot of women feel like they've failed, and that's just not the case.
No, not at all, not at all.
And however it happens, just making sure that the baby is well fed is the most important thing.
It is.
Whether it's formula, breast milk, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I think the failure is if you don't alert somebody that you think there's something wrong. And as we've discussed just now, you know, as a mum, you know, your gut instincts are usually right. And probably, you know, your mum probably knows too.
Yeah, the
you
people
know.
around you.
Yes, especially if
friends
they've had babies and seen babies develop.
And I think midwives are pretty hot on it as well. They do weigh the babies, don't they, a lot?
They
with
do
them.
in the first couple of weeks, and
Yeah.
then your health visitor takes
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
So your health visitor will come to the home. She will do some checks on baby, and she will leave you numbers where you can contact her very easily.
Yeah.
So make sure you have that number to hand,
Yeah.
and that everybody in the house knows where it is.
Yeah.
So yes, just you know, open your mouth and ask for help.
Yeah. Okay, what can be done to improve my milk supply?
First and foremost, and always importantly, stimulation. So if you put baby to the breast more, allow them to suck more, use your breast pump, ensure again good latch. We always come back to good latch, because if there's not a good latch, there's not good stimulation, there's not good sucking. Have baby checked out for tongue tie. It may have been missed.
See, that's really interesting, because I think of my friends who are having babies at the same time, there were 7 of us, something like 5 of the babies had tongue tie,
Oh, good Lord.
either fore or
Posterior.
yeah, there are 2 types, aren't there?
Yes, that's right.
And none of them were diagnosed.
And that's
To
a
begin
real...
with, obviously they were in the end, and it's so easy to sort out.
It is easy to sort out, but you see, the key thing though, even about having, you know, tongue ties are easily repaired.
Yeah.
They can just be snipped, and you know, you'll be home again in an hour, and
Yeah.
baby can breastfeed. But the thing is that it's really important to have a good milk supply before you have the snip, because what helps heal the snip is that babies suck.
Right.
So, and they need milk there. So there's no point going home and they're not sucking properly. So you need to start pumping first. If somebody said baby's got tongue tie, pump, get your milk supply up, have the snip done, baby's back on the breast, and hopefully you don't look back.
Yeah.
But, you know, a good latch and stimulating the breasts are key to a good supply.
Also, nutrition is really important. I know a friend of mine went to a lactation consultant when she was finding that at the end of the day she was not having very much milk at the end of the day, and the lactation consultant said, have porridge for breakfast, have a highly calorific breakfast, and it will really ensure your supply continues through the rest of the day. So I think she was having nothing for breakfast, or she was having, you know, a crunch bar or something. She wasn't eating properly, and therefore her body wasn't able to make milk by the end of the day.
Well, that's very true. I mean, I suppose we all assume that breastfeeding mothers will have a good diet and be sensible, and that somebody will put something nutritious in front of them, especially in those few weeks. So all those grandmas out there, this is what you're for.
Stop with the brownies and flapjacks.
Exactly. Well, flapjacks are fine. Oats in those.
Yeah, that's true.
Not so much sugar though.
That's true.
All right.
A lot of butter and sugar.
Yes, exactly. But yes, you need regular healthy fuel. That's for sure, and lots of fluid. I mean, fluid doesn't increase your breast milk, but you get thirsty when you're breastfeeding.
You do. And you should drink.
You should drink.
You're
yes,
breastfeeding.
you'll probably find you'll be more thirsty than usual.
Yeah.
But yes, nutrition of course is great, and a certain amount of rest. You know, you need sometimes. You know, if you've got a hungry baby, you've got a baby that's awake with its fists in its mouth, and you become exhausted, and it becomes a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So you know, if you can manage to have an hour's sleep during the day, but somebody probably needs to take baby out for a walk, so you can't hear them crying, and then you switch off completely into a restful sleep.
Yes.
But, you know, stimulation is even more important.
Okay.
Yes.
Why do I have a low milk supply?
Well, usually because baby's not sucking effectively, not draining the breast completely. That's very important, that you're emptying your breast because it fills.
Because there is that myth, isn't there, that you do 2 minutes on one boob, 2 minutes on the other boob, but that's...
Well, there is. I mean, switch feeding has its place. You can do that, but ultimately you do need to be able to drain breasts completely at some point during the day, and they tend to fill up more efficiently as well that way.
Supply and demand, isn't it? The
Exactly.
more your baby wants, the more you're producing.
Yes. I mean, there are very few reasons why demand is low, and usually it can be easily remedied. There's usually a reason for it, and it can be, you know, it can be rectified.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How can I ensure a good latch when breastfeeding? That's a good one.
I think
it's so important to have
it
a good latch.
is.
And I remember when I first started breastfeeding, I was like, what's a latch? I mean, you just think that the baby just starts sucking, but it's not quite as simple as that,
It isn't quite as simple as that, but I think, you know, if you step back a bit first, you need to probably have a little look at what a good latch is while you're still pregnant.
Yeah.
So when you're not suddenly in a panic about, well, exactly. So have a look at, there's some great videos out there.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Jack Newman does a brilliant series of clips.
Okay.
And
I'll put a link to that.
Yes, I mean,
underneath this
he's
video.
absolutely first class, and he of babies with the correct latch. And I could explain to you here, but it would be very boring and turgid. But you need to see something visual is much more helpful.
Yes.
But
there are little tips, aren't there? It's like nose to
nipple, that's
tummy
right.
to mummy,
Yes, right.
remembering correctly.
That's right. Tummy to mummy. Make sure baby's facing all in the same direction, so their head's not turned like this, body one way, head the other way, because they'll get a stiff neck and they'll get fed up of feeding and they'll wriggle around.
Yeah.
Detach themselves slightly, suck on the end of your nipple.
Ouch.
And, you know, baby needs to have a good bit of your areola in its mouth, the area that's around the nipple as well.
Yes.
That's very, very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I'll post those videos underneath because I think that's a really, really useful tip.
It is. It is.
Perfect. What does breast engorgement look and feel like? You know when you've got it. I remember being in IKEA and my boobs suddenly went really hot and rock hard.
Yes.
And I felt just ill.
Yeah.
I felt so ill.
Yes, exhausted.
And exhausted. I was like, what is happening to me?
Yes.
I hadn't had it before, and I wasn't really aware of.
How many weeks old was baby when this happened?
I don't remember. She was quite old.
Oh, really?
She was sort of 6 months.
Oh, right.
Like that, 5-6 months.
Oh, okay.
And I've never had it before.
Oh, okay.
To such an extent. Obviously, you get a little bit of swelling.
Yes.
But not.
It's most
to this
commonly
extent.
experienced in that first week or so when your milk comes in on the 3rd or 4th day in a big rush. Because baby stimulated the breasts and the...
I never got that big rush.
You didn't?
My mum was always saying, has your milk come in? Has your milk? I was like, I don't know.
Oh.
She's feeding, so I assume so. But I didn't get that kind of sensation of...
You didn't? Well,
No.
not everybody does. Most women do, but
Yeah.
not everybody does.
Not everybody.
No, not everybody does. But yes, you're right. It feels like you're going to have a flu.
Yeah.
So you feel maybe a bit feverish. You may have a high temperature.
Yeah.
And breasts become very full and hard, and you need to empty your breasts. So that's the key thing.
And when you don't feel like
I don't feel like doing it. You just
don't
want
feel
to
like
lie
doing it at all.
down.
My mum was going, she has to feed, you have to get the milk
That's
out.
right.
I was like, but it hurts, I
Yes.
don't want to.
Yes, your breasts do feel very tender.
Yeah.
And you feel that, feeding the baby is just one thing too many.
Yeah.
But your mum's right. It was the best thing to do.
They always are, these mums.
They
aren't
are.
They always
They are.
So there are other things that she was...
yes.
Hot flannels she was putting on. And
Hot flannels just before a feed, and then maybe some cold flannels to calm them
And you can
down
actually
afterwards.
buy... I think I bought them and ended up never using them in the end. I think they were Avent was the brand, and they're sort of gel packs.
That's right.
And you put one in the freezer, and then I think there's another one that you put in the microwave.
Yes.
And you can alternate the hot and cold, and that's
That's
supposed
it. Exactly.
to help.
Or, you can use anything, a bag of frozen peas. You will use anything if you're feeling that uncomfortable. And and the frozen cabbage leaves.
No, I did that and they did work, but the smell. My husband got to a stage where I was like, can you stop with the cabbage leaves? Because they're fine at the beginning, and you basically what it is you pull the outside leaves of
which are nice
cabbage.
And sort of bra shaped.
Yes, exactly. They're curved beautifully. You put them in the freezer and then you put them inside your bra.
Yeah.
And for the first sort of 2 minutes, it does feel lovely, and then they defrost, and the smell of them next to your skin is just quite revolting.
Yes.
So I
well,
had to
perhaps
stop
the
doing
last
that.
resort then, but a cheap resort.
Very cheap,
It's very
very
cheap.
cheap.
And if you're on your own and your husband's not at home,
that day, then it's a really good
yes,
option.
really good option.
Bit of perfume, fine. Yes, lots of old wives'
And
tales around those
take some paracetamol as well, because that will reduce your fever if you have one.
Yeah.
And ibuprofen is brilliant, as long as you're not allergic to it.
Yeah.
It's take some regular ibuprofen until it sort of all calms down a bit.
Yeah, and if it does persist, it could turn into mastitis.
It can do, yes. So please seek help.
And what would you do if you got mastitis? Would you go to the doctor?
Doctor or lactation consultant, either or both,
And do you get antibiotics for it? Or?
Usually, yes, you do. With mastitis, you do need antibiotics.
Okay. How can breast engorgement be prevented?
Good regular feeding.
And even feeding as well.
Even feeding, that's right. No abnormal pressure on your breasts from, I think underwire bras are okay if you're fine, but if you feel like they're creating some pressure, don't use them.
Yeah.
As with the nipple collecting cups, don't go around with those in your bra because they create. Some women go around and collect milk.
What is nipple collecting cup?
Well, they're things we used to use to protract the nipple, and you can collect a little bit of milk in them.
Okay.
But some women go around with them tucked inside their bra, and then it creates pressure, which can cause infection.
Right. Yeah, they do say about underwired bras, although I didn't find other bras gave me enough support.
Yes.
And then it just felt sort of uncomfortable. So I think I did for a while use. At the end, I was using underwired bras.
Yes.
And it was,
there's a balance, definitely,
and everyone's different.
Will
respond differently.
And you will instantly know. I mean, the other thing is that sometimes when you lift up your t-shirt and you have this thick band of fabric which indents into your breast.
Yeah.
I mean, they're simple things, but you'll get to know what causes discomfort.
Yeah, having a good bra though, that is really important.
It is important, absolutely.
And be fitted for one.
Yes,
because I remember before I had Ava, I went out and I bought all of these breastfeeding bras, and none of them fit me by the time she actually came and was breastfeeding, because my boobs grew so much that they were much too small. So definitely once your milk's come in, then go for your...
Yes, or as a rule of thumb, right at the end of pregnancy, your breasts sort of are the size they will be when you're lactating, because in the first few weeks, you're right, they go up and down so much. It's hard to know what will fit.
Yeah.
But a good bra is very important. Yeah. But again, draining the breasts when feeding is very, very key. Yes.
And so what should you do if the baby's only fed for a couple of minutes and then doesn't want any more? Should you try and put the baby back on that same breast again next time, or...?
Yes, you should. And I think the key thing is to start feeling your own breasts, so you know what's full and what's empty.
Yeah.
You have to really get into your breasts, if you see what I mean. You have to know your own body very well. But that only comes with time. You can't instantly...
Everything's so overwhelming at the beginning, and I remember friends of mine were using apps and saying, I did left boob at this time for this long, and I was thinking, I don't do that at all. I'm just sort of like, I think it's left. I think it's right.
Yeah.
I think it's left. I was not so planned and...
Well, maybe you were more intuitive, and maybe you do know your body.
I was tired. That's what I know. I was really tired. Just thought,
yes.
take the milk.
Yeah. And usually that works.
Yeah.
And as you said, you didn't have mastitis.
No. And just that one time, I don't know what happened. That trip to IKEA.
One thing too many.
Yes. My body was like, not IKEA.
Yeah, exactly.
Go home.
Don't go to IKEA.
Okay. And then how can I ease my engorged breasts? Well, draining them.
Draining them, yes, exactly. Draining them, cooling them.
And you can even if the baby doesn't want to feed, you can still self.
You can, yes, you can hand express yourself, and you should learn how to hand express. It's a very, very useful thing to know how to hand express, because if your breasts are uncomfortable and you think you're veering towards infection or mastitis, hand expressing is very, very important.
I remember the first time we went out for it was a really big party we went out for, and I think Ava was maybe 4 months old, and I'd not had any real time apart from her, and my parents were looking after her for nights. This was the first time, and we were at this party, so I couldn't pump. I had to go in the middle of the party. I was wearing a halter neck dress. I had to take the top of the halter neck dress down, this beautiful sequined floor length dress, and I was praying no one would come in as I was self-expressing
into the basin,
and just thinking, I can't believe this is my life, what's happened to me. But I had to do it.
Yes, you do.
They were literally growing by the second and getting harder and harder and harder and harder, and that was all I could do to stop the engorgement.
But isn't lactation amazing that it does that?
Unbelievable.
Yes.
I think through pregnancy you realise how incredible your body is.
That's right. Yes.
It really is. Just every day, I'm like, wow, my body is just doing. I'm not doing anything to help this happen.
No.
My baby is doing. My body is doing all of this.
Yes. And intuition is everything. You know, it really is.
I think we have so much knowledge that actually it's quite difficult sometimes for us to listen to our intuition, because it's sort of that brain over the heart thing. It's like, oh, but what does Google say? What does the doctor say? And rather than actually just listening to yourself,
going with it.
Yeah, what you think is right.
Yes.
It's a tricky play.
And getting to know your baby, you know, your baby's needs.
Yeah.
And
they are all so different.
That's
I think before I had a baby, I thought, oh, they're all the same, these babies. You know, and then you have one, you're like, this is not the same. My one's really different.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, that's all the questions that I've got for you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
And it's been absolutely brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. And I hope you have too. If you do have any questions for Sarah, then I'm going to put her email address down underneath the video. Do send across an email, and we'll either make a video or she will write a little article or email you back. Thank you again for your time, and I will speak to you soon.
No, pleasure.